So at this time, I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting for the Carver School Committee for Monday, May 10th, 2021. Just a reminder, this meeting is being held virtually in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. So we're live in the room, we are live via Zoom, and we're also live via Area 58. Just a reminder to people, public comment is actually a little bit further down on the agenda this evening, but we would start the meeting by reminding people that if they'd like to make comments during public comment and they're participating at home via Zoom, they just need to put their name into the chat. And obviously everybody in the room who wants to participate during public comment will open it up to the room as well. So if we could please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be great. Just give me a second to get the flag going for those people at home. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, crap.
All right, so tonight we're going to begin the meeting with school committee reorganization. At this time, I would open up the floor for a nomination for chairperson of the Carver School Committee. Jason?
I move Stephanie Clarity as chair.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second for Stephanie Clarity as the chair. Any other discussion? Okay, this would be a roll call vote. So Jen Pratt.
Jen Pratt, aye.
Andy Cavalry.
Aye.
Jason Greenwood.
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen Zanuski.
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
And Stephanie Clarity.
Stephanie Clarity, aye.
So Stephanie, the new chair of the school committee, and I'll pass you the gavel.
Thank you.
You can take over the role of facilitator.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion for vice chair of the Carver School Committee?
I would, please.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion for Andy Cardarelli as our vice chairperson.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, then roll call vote. Jen?
Jen Pratt, aye.
Jason?
Jason Greenwood, no. Sorry.
Colleen?
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Andy?
Aye, yes.
Stephanie Clarity, no. So that passes. Andy is chairperson, 3-2. Now we need a recording secretary. Typically, that is the newest member of the school committee.
Historically, it
So
has been.
I will.
I'm happy to retain it and I'm happy to pass it.
I guess this is me to make this motion then, huh?
Your turn.
I move Jen Pratt to be recording secretary. I don't know.
Amen.
Okay.
I'll second. Jen and I discussed it this afternoon.
I mean, I can change it to Colleen if you really don't want it. I don't know.
No, I don't mind.
I know it was a super, super tough job the first time
It
around.
was really difficult, but I like to, it gives me purpose because then I have to take good notes, so I have to pay attention.
There you go.
Not that I wouldn't otherwise, but.
Okay. Excellent. So we have a motion and a second. Andy?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Colleen?
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
And Stephanie? Aye. Yes?
I'd like to make a motion to table subcommittees A through D until current negotiations are complete.
Okay. Anyone have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
A through what?
I'm sorry, it's subcommittees A through D. So can I do my discussion piece?
Yeah.
The purpose of this is just because we're in the middle of negotiations, and I don't think it's beneficial to change anything right now. And once the negotiations wrap up in the next month or so, then we can just put this on a future agenda item and then reorganize that then. I feel like that's probably, consistency-wise, makes the most sense.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
Wouldn't you have, wouldn't you have to, if you wanted to keep the same slate, just nominate the same people on there?
It will, because it could change after it. That's what I'm saying, because James is on here right now for food service. So I'm just saying, if we just wait until negotiations are done, and then if, say, we switch custodians, or we switch bus drivers, or we switch ESPs, because teachers won't change, we can just, once everything's done, then we can just literally reorganize it all and start fresh then. That was the rationale there.
I just didn't know the official procedure, if we could, how to keep it status quo.
So in the school committee policy on this issue, it does say that during the reorganizational meeting, they have to reorganize for chair, vice chair, and recording secretary. Those are the only positions that are required to be reorganized on a yearly basis.
Okay.
Historically, the committee has reorganized, but policy-wise, Jason's motion would be in order if the committee chose to do that.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy to assist where needed to fill in for James O'Brien, if that's acceptable, or I don't know if it's out of turn or not.
I don't think food service isn't currently up, or they're already done, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost moot. So
Okay.
I think once we hit our August meeting, once everything's done, then that could be something that we put on our August agenda, and then just go from there.
Okay, well, I'll second that then.
I think I already did, actually.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry.
I think so, yep.
All right.
Any further discussion? Nope, okay. Jen?
Jen Pratt, aye.
Andy?
All right.
Jason?
Aye.
Aye.
Stephanie Clarity? No. So we're still going to do the appointing authority for Old Colony, correct? So is there anyone that would like to be nominated for that?
No. I had a question about our previous motion
Okay.
and vote. We actually have an issue with this. One of the new items on this for this year is a representative for the capital outlay. It's actually not new, but they're reforming the capital outlay committee, and they're asking for a representative from the school committee. So, and they were asking for a vote tonight, so that they'd have a name for the next meeting.
Well, I'm okay with voting capital outlay now. I think Jason really just wanted to table D, right? For the negotiation?
Yeah, I went to,
You did A through D, didn't you?
I did say A through D, that is true, but I didn't realize that piece of the capital outlay.
So maybe we should can we amend the previous motion to just be number D?
I think you'd probably have to make a new motion because you made a motion, voted, and approved it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to just table item D until,
What is the procedure on this? Yeah,
So
actually.
I think you'd have to make a new motion and say that you'd like to look at again.
I'd like to bring back items A through
B, and
C.
So you'd like to make a motion.
Reconsider,
Bring
yeah.
back items A, B, and C. You need a second on that motion, then a vote. And then D would stay the same.
Okay.
Because you're just bringing back A, B, and C.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to bring back subcommittee votes for A, B, and C.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Sorry about that, I didn't realize that was a now thing. That's my fault.
Okay, so the policy subcommittee.
We'll
Oh, we have to vote on this first.
We need a vote on Jen's motion.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Okay, sorry, yep, sorry.
Jen Pratt, aye.
Okay.
Andy Cotterelli, aye.
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye. My apologies, I jumped the gun. Okay, so policy subcommittee. Is there anyone that would like to serve on that?
I've been on it. I'd like to stay on it if anybody, no one has any objections.
Okay.
We need two, right?
Yep. I'm happy to do it with Andy unless someone else wants to.
I make a motion to appoint Andy and Stephanie to the policy subcommittee.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay. Vote. Jen?
Jen Pratt, aye.
Andy Carter, aye.
Jason?
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye. Okay, so that passes. So superintendent's evaluation, do we still have to
Ex
appoint?
officio, so we don't have
Or
to.
is that just-
Historically, it's the chair
Okay.
and vice chair.
But do we need to make
Yeah,
it?
usually it doesn't have to be, that's
Okay.
not policy, so.
Move Andy and Stephanie for the superintendent's evaluation subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Jen?
Jen Pratt, aye.
Andy Carter, aye.
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye.
Can I add one informational piece on the capital outlay?
Yep.
So previously, capital outlay committee was generally meeting during the workday, and I know sometimes that was helpful for some of the members, in terms of your schedules to be attending capital outlay meetings during the day. I think, and Andy, you can verify this, that there is consideration that would be a committee that would meet in the evening. In terms of who's eligible to be representative in terms of your, not that I know all of your schedules, but I think evening meetings are more conducive for all of you than meetings during the workday.
Right.
I think their intention is to meet in the evening.
Yeah, I spoke to the chairman, and I asked him that specifically. And he said, no, they're redoing the whole committee, and it's going to be, the meetings will be mostly in the evening, around 7 or so. So if
Okay.
that's a consideration for anyone.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to be our representative on the capital outlay committee?
I would do it if no one else wants to. It's up to you guys.
I'd second Andy.
You want to make the motion? Go ahead.
I'd make a motion to appoint Andy Cottarelli as the Capital Outlay Committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion in the second. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, then a vote.
Jen Pratt, aye.
Andy, aye.
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye.
Skip D.
Okay, so then the appointing authority for Old Colony Regional District School Committee. So, would anyone like?
I'll make a motion to appoint. Oh, can I appoint myself? I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 seconds in the afternoon. It's okay. I would like to make a motion to appoint myself, Colleen, and Stephanie as the appointing authority for OCR DSC.
I'll second that.
Okay, Jen.
We typically only have 2. Is it okay for us to have 3?
Well, the chair serves.
The chair
Or
serves,
it's in addition?
Yeah, you,
Okay, so I just saw the 2 on the end. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, open to a vote.
Jen Pratt, aye.
Andy Cottarelli, aye.
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye. Okay, so that takes care of our reorganization. And now, comments from the EAPC.
Okay, and Tom and Tammy, I think, are both going to speak this evening, and they are both in the Zoom.
Evening, everybody. Hopefully, good weather to try to finish up the school year. I just want to reiterate that our members have done an amazing job throughout this past year. Their dedication, effort, and investment in the education of our students have been truly amazing. They've spent countless hours throughout this pandemic giving the community their all. I want to make sure they get recognized for that. So I'll turn it over to Kim.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Just kind of continuing on with what Tom was saying. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and after this year, one of my most challenging years in my career, the warm gestures and thank yous from our administration, students, and families was very much appreciated. As we reflect on this past year, I'd like to commend the educators of our school district. I know so many stories firsthand of educators going above and beyond the scope of their job. Every spring, our high school teachers are carefully writing thoughtful letters of recommendations for students applying to colleges. Education support professionals are dropping off food to students that are quarantined. Elementary educators working long hours, making sure they provide the support our children need during this trying year. All of us have risen to an incredible challenge as we navigate through this pandemic. Teachers, ESP, bus drivers, nurses, cafeteria workers, custodians, and administration. We have taken extensive plans that took hours to work out over the summer and have continuously changed them throughout the year. Educating your children is an incredibly challenging job at the best of times, and I cannot be any prouder to be part of a group of educators that continue, day after day, through any challenge, putting our children first. Truly, we are a very fortunate community. It is also important to remember to value and recognize our educators for all they do. For it is their commitment and dedication that benefits our students. Our children are our ultimate investment for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Tom. Do we have anyone from Student Council?
We do. Haley Kaczynski is here. So Haley, you should be able to turn the video on. Thank you for being here with us this evening.
So I'm to update you guys on what we have done over the past weeks. Sorry. So last Sunday we participated in Project Bread's Walk for Hunger, and it's usually held in Boston, but due to COVID we held it at our track this year. And we raised over $700 for Project Bread, which will directly help with food assistance for families in Massachusetts. And we had over 20 students participate, and most of them received community service hours for participating. And then last week we hung up posters on all the doors around the school for Teacher Appreciation Week, and each poster had a special message to encourage and support the teachers. And our final announcement is that we have no upcoming events for the rest of the school year.
Wow, I can't believe it's that time. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for joining us, Haley. Thank you for the update, and thank you for all of the good work that you and Student Council are doing this year.
The posters on the doors around the building were great. We're really appreciated by the teachers. So thank you for all the time and energy you put into doing that. And also, obviously, your work for Project Bread. That is something that's been consistently supported by the Student Council and the school. And it's nice that events like that are continuing through the pandemic. So thank you for everybody for participating.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we have reached comments from the general public.
So would you like to start via Zoom or in the room?
Do we have both?
I'll give one more reminder for people. So if anybody on Zoom would like to participate in comments from the general public, at this time we would invite them to put their name into the chat. So far, no one has put their name into the chat for those attending at home. I don't know if you want to give them 1 minute, or do you want to open it up to the floor here first?
We can give them 1 minute and see if anyone puts their name in. Let's see.
Not seeing any movement at this time at home.
Okay. So if there's anyone here in our meeting that would like to speak, you're more than welcome to. Are they going to use a microphone, Scott?
Yeah, I think Ron's going to slide over and make the mic available for other people.
Hi. I'm here. My name is Shannon Alsheimer.
Yeah, it's off. Not sure why we get that feedback. Not mic.
So I have a first grader and a seventh grader, and I do know.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Difficult. See if we change mics out. See if we don't. or if the people can hear you at home, because all the sound goes to the mic, so
Okay.
as long as we get some indication from people at home that they can hear you.
Okay. So again, my name is Shannon Alsheimer. I have a first grader and a seventh grader. And I do see that further down on the schedule that you are discussing the bullying prevention. I just wanted to make my presence known. I didn't know if I had time later to say anything. I have unfortunately experienced a lot of bullying from my daughter to the point where once both cohorts are back at school, she came home crying the other day that she doesn't want to go back to school at all. I started back when the parent-teacher conferences were, when they were just single cohorts, mentioning to teachers that, hey, something is happening, you need to keep an ear out, an eye out. I didn't at that point want to make a giant wave. I want my daughter to be able to build her own backbone, stand up for herself, but also make sure that the teachers were aware that something was going on. It continued and then only got worse once both cohorts were back with different friends being together. I had, I think 2 weeks ago, sent an email to 2 other of her teachers saying, hey, I had mentioned to these specific teachers I had conferences with, have you discussed it all? It's still continuing, it's almost worse. Where are we, what can we do now? They did mention that the teachers had discussed it, but that the email was then forwarded on to administration. This was, a whole week has gone by now. I have not heard from administration. I can put a little bit of the weight on myself that I didn't get back to anybody, but my grandmother passed last week, so it was kind of like a bumpy week to get through. And it was definitely on my list for this week. But I just wanted to let it be known that I myself have experienced a lot of issues through my daughter, and it is something that I see as a problem and maybe something that kind of gets pushed to the side, and hopefully we can all work together as a community to make it so it doesn't continue to happen for our children.
Hopefully, thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Neef will be presenting later part of the contact process for reaching out to the correct people at the district so that you can make sure that it's addressed. So thank you for speaking. Would anyone else like to speak?
My name is Deborah Giswaldo, and I know many of you, and it's good to be back after 2 years of retirement. I haven't been to school committee. I'm wondering, as we have a new organization tonight, I wanted to just remind and uplift the school committee and remind you of your responsibilities and how I see them and how the Ed Reform Act sees them as well. You represent the students, the children in Carver. You represent those teachers, staff, administrators, custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, those people who don't vote in the town. You're their voice. I want to remind you that what you say and post and put on social media matters. It matters. I had a student come to my home and speak to me in my driveway. Someone shared a post, a screenshot, that a member of the school committee had posted, probably in jest, but it was based on sexual orientation, the joke, and it hurt the student to the point where the student said, I don't want to look at my diploma, with the signature on it of someone who mocked me for just being me. So I'm here just to remind you that words matter, what you say matters. And as a retired teacher, I can tell you, I tried my darndest every day to uplift my children to limits and eliminate sarcasm or things that would hurt them in any way. You may never know the results of your words, but I am asking you from the bottom of my heart to please look at the policies in place for your social media participation. My expectations as a resident in the town, not a teacher, I'm a voter. I'm a taxpayer. I expect you to watch what you post so that it does not hurt anyone in our school community or the community in general. It is not right. So please think about that. Think about looking at your policies, work on that. Try to improve what's going on. Your words matter. They always matter. It's like taking a bowling ball and throwing it in a china shop and it goes rolling. You won't know the damage until that bowling ball stops. So I want to encourage you. You've all stepped out. You've put yourselves out there. I thank you for that. But I do have high expectations. Our children have high expectations. Your appropriate communications out there in space matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak that's in the room? Oh, come right up.
Good evening, all. My name is Caitlin McCarthy. I have 5 different children in your school system. I have a kindergartner, I have a 4th grader, I have a 9th grader, a 10th grader, and an 11th grader. As another parent after spoke tonight of bullying, I have experienced it with my children to the fullest extent. I spent multiple hours in school offices, on phone calls and emails, to the extent that I had to hospitalize a child because the bullying was so bad. My daughter, who is in the 9th grade, has been hospitalized 14 times, mental health issues, because she's been tormented. As a parent, you don't want that. You don't want to see that. You don't want to experience that. I walk those shoes. My daughter was called every name in the book. When I went to the school about this one child that did it for 2 years straight, they told me he has a tough life. I understand we all have lost lives. I have 5 children with 5 different personalities. I have an older child that graduated not from our school system because I pulled him from it. So I've seen it to the fullest. I've had my daughter suffer so many mental health setbacks because of the torment she received from this one child. And to hear he has a tough walk of life, I'm sorry. I can't be sympathetic at that point because I had to hospitalize my child 14 times. And in 14 times, she's still not any better. She hates herself. She hates the people she goes to school with. She won't go back. I chose to keep my kids home remote because I have a physically disabled child that if she was to get COVID, she would die. I fear for that child. That child walks different than everybody else. She wears braces. She can't remember things. She has epilepsy. Are they going to make fun of her for that? I don't want to experience that again. I think that the policies need to be reviewed. I think more parents need to be more involved in this. You guys can hear what is going on firsthand. As a parent sitting here, I'm pulling back the tears for my kids. I have a child that dropped out of school this year because she couldn't deal with it. Luckily, Massasoit does offer a great program where she will still get a high school diploma and get college credits and move on with her life and be great, because I want that for my child. But I don't think that the teachers are listening to these kids when they're saying it. I don't think the staff does enough to say that we're going to help you, because my kid sat in our office and cried about it. And I had to go there on several occasions and pick her up. But I think as a committee, and I think that enough parents come forward, that we can stop this, but we have to work together. Because I sat in that office and I was told that. I don't want another parent to be told that. I don't want another parent to have to hospitalize their child. I don't want another child to drop out because they've been bullied. I don't want to fear for my kindergartner right now that has struggled and may not make it to graduation. But I think if you guys don't know about it, you can't fix it. So I'm here to tell you my story, that my child was hospitalized, my child was bullied. My child was afraid to come back to school in September. I have had IEP meetings to change things that we might change our district. I don't know. I moved from this town because it didn't stop at school. It came to the streets of Carver. I moved out of Carver because it got so bad. And that's not fair to my kids, that's not fair to me. That's not fair to the next family that's gonna live in that home. So I may not be making sense, and I may be just an emotional parent right now, but I need to be that emotional parent to understand the severity of what's going on in schools. It's not just at the elementary school, it's not just at the high school, it's all around. And it doesn't stop at your doors, it goes into the streets. I had my house egged. I was assaulted by a student in your school. It needs to stop, and I think that you guys are the first stop, because I've been to schools and nobody listened to me, nobody offered help. I went up the lines, I filed complaints. I talked to police officers, and it got me nowhere. So I'm here tonight, so maybe hopefully you guys will hear me loud and clear that it has to stop, because there are children suffering, and that's not fair to them. They need an education just like every other child. They don't want to hear it's a tough life, because I'm walking that life right now. I'm walking that with 5 different children, 5 different personalities. One that's been hospitalized 14 times, and one that I fear her going through the charter schools, that I want her to get that education, but if the bullying doesn't stop, I don't know if she's going to get it. So that's my story. That's kind of what I deal with every day, day in and day out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing your story to our committee. Very sorry. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Crystal Wetby. I have 4 daughters. 3 attend elementary school, 4th grade, 2nd grade, and pre-K. I just wanted to know when the school will be taking a serious look at the negative psychological and physical impacts the constant forced mask wearing is going to have on children. And that's basically all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you. Excuse me, is there anyone else that's in the room that would like to speak? Have we had anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, we have one person.
Hello. Name's Robert Harrington. I just want to kind of speak to the mask thing a little bit quickly too. I've already sent some information to a lot of people out in the community, as well as members of the board and Superintendent Neef, about some of the concerns with wearing masks under a mandate, specifically in this case, while participating in sporting activities, physical education, and things like that. And I supplied a good amount of documentation out of some of the concerns with that in terms of health over a long period of time. I've had a couple conversations with a few people here, and I'm hoping and I'm fairly confident that that's something that's being discussed across the board, and that we maybe see some further discussion in public forum and then a time, maybe like 2 weeks from now on the official agenda. But I'd like to add to that in respect to what Crystal said. I was made aware this week, a friend of a friend, with a little bit of an odd story that kind of put this in perspective for me. This person received a card from their student that was hand-drawn in class. Basically, the kid made their mother a Mother's Day card. And they drew a portrait of the mother and said, "Happy Mother's Day, I love you." It was, for all purposes, a very sweet and touching Mother's Day card. The somewhat disgusting part of it is that this student drew her mother wearing a big mask covering her entire face, looking very much the way that we all do today. So, I've given you a bunch of science on sports and exerting yourself and altitude sickness, and I'm sure you've all read it all. But I think there is something to really take seriously about the mental end of things. The way that we view ourselves, the communication and the facial expressions and the development and the growth of our students and our children, in growing up and seeing people as people instead of a mask. I think the concept that in 12 months or a little bit more than 12 months, we have a young child that's drawing, and I'm sure, you know, you have a rule of 10, right? You see one, that means there's 10 right there that you didn't see. You know, you got a young child that's drawing mom a touching Mother's Day card, and mom's got a mask cover her whole face because that child never sees mom's face anymore in public. I'm sorry, I think that's a little disgusting. And I think in certain settings, I think that's ridiculous. And I think a good way to look at that and realize some of the ridiculousness of some of this and to start considering is that last week we discussed changes in the DESI guidelines. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what they changed is that what was considered social distancing previously was 6 feet everywhere. And my understanding is it's now 3 feet in the classroom and on the bus. Now, I'm happy to hear that, quite frankly, in my personal opinion. But the science behind it makes 0 sense. Because in the hallway, it's 6 feet, and in, I don't know, Cumberland Farms, it's 6 feet, and everywhere it's 6 feet, and 6 feet is supposed to be a scientifically determined number. But in a place where we can't accommodate 6 feet, oh, okay, well, the science says because we can't accomplish 6 feet, 3 feet's cool. That tells me that the science that's coming up with the 3 to 6 feet, whatever one you want to choose, is rooted in a whole bunch of nothing. It's a guess. It's an educated guess, maybe, but if you use your brain, you know, the idea of how far away you have to be from someone to be safe would depend on the relative humidity, how tall that person is, which way the wind's blowing. A huge amount of factors would come into play as to what that distance would be. So to say, oh, it's 6 feet, or it's 3 feet, or it's 20 feet, or whatever you want to say it is, it's one of those things where you could basically decide on a number, and then you could do a bunch of math and, you know, experimenting and whatever you wanted to do, that you could very easily skew that number to be what you wanted it to be. And the contradictory numbers between 3 and 6 in the current guidelines, I think they just kind of shot themselves in the foot. I think they just proved that they're kind of just making this up. And I think that we should consider that if 6 feet can equal 3 feet, and the kid's drawing mommy wearing a mask for a card, I think that's gross. So I want to take my previous comments about health concerns with sporting and physical education and whatnot that I sent to you guys, and expand that to the emotional end of things, because I saw that card this week, and I don't know, honestly, I didn't know what to say. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak? Meredith, did anyone join the chat by any chance?
No.
No,
No.
okay.
I'm just going to switch the mic back.
Okay. Okay, so we will move on to the approval of minutes from our April 12th, 2021 open session minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the April 12th, 2021 open session minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, a vote.
Jen Pratt, aye.
Jim Federelli, aye.
Aye, but I don't, do we need to do roll call anymore? That was just for the appointments, right?
Yeah, so
Yes.
we're in the room, we're in person.
Okay.
I need to do a roll call vote on it.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
That's fair.
Okay.
The reorganization is required.
oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Gina, for the copious notes as always. Next on our agenda is communications.
No specific communications this evening, but I can move on to personnel, if that's okay with the chair.
Absolutely.
So we have a few new hires. Dr. Peter Jumper is a physics teacher for next school year at the middle high school. Hayden Roach is a lunch monitor at the elementary school. Melanie Sullivan is an ESP at the elementary school. And Christina Burwell as an ESP at the elementary school. We've had a couple of resignations. Joanna Sylvester as a lunch monitor at CEA at the elementary school. And actually Ben Tan is a music teacher at the elementary school. There's 2 additional new hires this evening that we've invited to attend the meeting that we'd like to do an introduction of. So we've invited Melissa Leary, who is going to be our new Director of Special Education. And we've invited Dr. Jessica Pinella, who is going to be our Associate Principal at the Elementary School. So I'm going to have Ruby introduce Jessica first, and then I will do an introduction of Melissa.
Great.
God, I'm trying to start my video and it won't allow me to.
I didn't know you made a video. Oh, to start your video for the screen. Wait a second. Sorry about that.
I just couldn't hear her because I close it, so if you can open it. If you
Yes, that is a problem.
Yep.
So I made a mistake in technology this evening. Melissa, Melissa Leary, I made you the host of the meeting mistakenly. I was trying to you have to make someone like co-host so they can turn their video back on. So if you could make me the host of the meeting again, that would be great. Since you are now the host.
Melissa's first meeting, she takes control of
Yeah,
it.
she's going to do that.
Yeah. Very eager. Big smile.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, so Ruby, now Ruby, you should be able to turn it on. There we go.
There she is.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
So I have the honor to introduce and to welcome Dr. Jessica Pinella to the Carver Elementary School and the Carver community. Jessica Pinella is a resident of Carver, and for several years she has been the general music teacher at the Hoplamont Elementary School in Pembroke, actually for 15 years. Jessica received her doctorate in leadership and education from Franklin Pierce University in 2014, Manchester, New Hampshire, and she has done a lot. She's very well known in the community, actually in the area, for her work in music. She has been a general music representative for Southeastern Massachusetts Music Teachers Association, where her role has been to lead and to train our colleagues. So she's done many workshops for area music teachers. She has been a clinician at the Massachusetts Music Educators Association, which basically means, again, that she has trained and worked with her colleagues to provide them with professional development opportunities. We're very excited to have Jessica. She has, in her role at Hoplamont Elementary as a teacher, she has planned and executed many functions, many large school functions like assemblies, concerts, Veterans Day breakfast, parent appreciation lunches, promotion nights, recitals, and she's done a lot of work with helping to oversee the well-being and safety of the students at the elementary in Hoplamont. So I just wanted to welcome her, introduce her a little bit, give you a little bit of information about her. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that really nice introduction, and I'm very excited to join the team. I live in Carver. I'm a Carver mom, and I am thrilled to be part of the leadership team at Carver Elementary School. So thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations, Jessica.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jessica.
All right, and I'd like to take a moment to introduce Melissa Leary. Melissa actually started with us in the district in 2008. And I had the privilege of hiring her at that time as the building principal at the middle high school, as the school psychologist and chief chair for the middle high school. And when we went through that interview process back in 2008, as I know at the interview committee, we were looking at the candidates. At the time, I said Melissa was just out of college, and I said, we have a superstar here. This is someone who's going to be a superstar for the district. And Melissa has proven to be that. She's been outstanding in all the roles that she's performed for the Carver Public Schools, as I said, including school psychologist and team chair, and special education department chair at the middle high school since 2016. Melissa has a BA in psychology from Stonewall College. She has a master's in educational psychology from Northeastern and a CAGS in applied educational psychology from Northeastern. Obviously, is certified as a special ed director at all levels and as a school psychologist. Melissa is passionate about our students. She's passionate about the community of Carver. She's thorough, she's always prepared. It really has been a pleasure for me to work with her over the past 12 years, and I really look forward to working with her in her new role as the Director of Special Education for Carver Public Schools. I actually am going to take a piece from her letter, her application for the position, and share it with the community and the committee. That's okay, Melissa. It says, when I stepped foot into Carver in June of 2008, I never imagined that I found my career at my forever school district. The quaint and picturesque cranberry bogs, friendly staff on my interview, and raving reviews about the special education department certainly set Carver apart on my places I wanted to work. But I did not think I would find my work family so quickly after becoming a member of the Carver Middle High School staff in late August 12 years ago. Carver is everything I could hope for in a job. I wake up every morning excited to drive to work and see what the day will bring. The staff, the students, the mission of the Carver Public Schools are embedded in me, and I'm proud to work for this community. And Melissa, we're proud to have you work for us. So please welcome our new Director of Special Education, Melissa Libby.
Welcome, Melissa.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Melissa, I don't know if you want to say a few words, not to put you on the spot.
You know, I hadn't heard anything, but thank you very much. I'm just really looking forward to the transition to becoming the director. And as I wrote in my letter, I love Carver, I love what I do, I love being a school psychologist, and I'm really looking forward to taking that next step and working with the leadership team to really spread special education throughout the district. So thank you.
So congratulations to Melissa and Jessica. We're excited to have them both on board in their new roles in the Carver Public Schools. Thank you, Ruby, for presenting Jessica.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome. Okay, so next communications.
Bi-weekly metrics?
Bi-weekly metrics.
Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to update the Zoom. This time I'll try not to make anyone else the host of the meeting. So as you're doing each meeting, we'll take kind of a look at the weekly metrics in terms of COVID within the community. So the trend data we're going to see here this evening, we'll go over quickly, but we'll spend more time if the committee would like me to. Has been in a positive direction, so we've seen a positive trend in terms of fewer COVID cases, fewer students who having positive cases, fewer students being quarantined. So it's all been consistent with the movement that we've also seen across the state in the last couple of weeks and within our region. So we look at that weekly metrics tracker that we take a look at each week. So in terms of overall reported cases in Carver, the numbers are actually fairly consistent. So 2 weeks ago, it was 28 active new cases, and we're at 27 for this past week, the last 7 days. The actual home count is down from those cases being in 21 homes to 17 homes total in Carver. And right now, the approximate total active case count within the community is down from 35 cases 2 weeks ago to 29 cases per the Carver Board of Health. And that's a consistent theme you'll see as we look community by community. So Carver, 2 weeks ago when we met, we were a red community. We transitioned back to yellow, and our overall percentage of positivity is down from 5.29% to 4%. As you look at each individual community, you'll see a similar trend where the numbers are going down. I believe the only one, I think Rochester, we're going to see the numbers have gone up a little bit. But if you look across the board, we're seeing a consistent trend down in terms of percentage of positivity, active case count, and total positive tests over the last 2 weeks from the state data. Taking a look at Middleborough, see that same thing. Percentage of positivity is down, total positive positive tests are down, and the total active case count is down. Plymouth has actually had a significant drop since last time we met. So Plymouth had, last time we met, their case count was 262, it's down to 115. Their total positive tests over a 2-week period were at 283, down to 141. The percentage of positivity was down from 5.4% to 3.13%. So Plymouth actually had the biggest drop of our community towns in terms of maintaining that trend downward. Same with Plimpton. Plimpton has also trended downward in the last couple weeks. The one community that's gone up a little bit is Rochester. So Rochester actually went from a yellow community to a red, actually from a green community we met 2 weeks ago to a red community now, with a little bit of an increase in positivity, increase in positive cases. But they're kind of the outlier in our data. The communities we've been tracking over the last couple weeks, every other community's had a downward trend in terms of the overall data. So any questions about the trends we're seeing in neighboring communities, the reports from the Carver Board of Health, in terms of where the virus has been going in our area?
Anyone? Looks like it continues to trend downward.
And I'll quickly show the Mass DPH site. As I said on the last couple of meetings, this has tremendous amount of information on it. You could spend hours here looking at different charts and graphs. There's kind of 2 charts we've been looking at continually, which is kind of the total active case count across the state, and also looking at the hospitalizations. The interesting thing on this front page is today we only reported 446 new positive cases in the whole state of Massachusetts, which is the lowest number we've seen since early October. So it's the best number for one day in the state in 6 months. And then when you're looking at the graphs, we see that first spike, we see that second spike, and then we're on that downward trend in terms of overall positive cases. That same graph we looked at for hospitalizations. We see the same trend where we had the original spike last year, we had a second spike in January, February, March, and now we're on a downward trend. With again, on both those numbers, if you look at the hospitalization numbers, and you look at the total case count numbers and the average number of cases over a 2-week period, the numbers are actually the lowest they've been in the state since early to mid-October. So we're really, hopefully, as we say every 2 weeks, we're hoping that trend is going to continue, and we're going to see a move in that direction, and we might, which may lead to the easing of more restrictions as we move forward. Any questions about the DPH report? And then our COVID dashboard, which is updated as of today. So our active case count in the school community is again, as good as it's been the last few months. So at the elementary school, we do not have any students down now who currently have an active COVID-19 status. So you really think about it, we've been full in person now for 7 school weeks. 8 weeks, including vacation, but 7 weeks of school since K1 and 2 returned full in person. And since we've had that full in person return, we've done really well in terms of not having a lot of positive cases. And right now in the elementary school, there are only 2 students building-wide that are currently in quarantine or isolation based on situations at home. At the middle high school, again, our numbers are really good. Right after we met last week, 2 weeks ago, we had several positive cases. I reported out to the community. We actually had 6 cases reported to us in one day. Most of those cases have cleared. And so we look at the middle high school right now, our numbers are again really good. We have 2 students with an active COVID-19 status as of today, 14 students in total in quarantine. And then, the other thing we've talked about several times over the last month or so, and I do think we are seeing the effects of vaccination for teachers. Don't want to jinx us. We haven't had a positive case amongst either the middle high school or the elementary school amongst staff in over a month. We did have an active case amongst the district-wide staff member, but that trend has been really good and really clean and consistent. So in terms of tracking the virus as we've been doing throughout the year, we're really in as good of a position as we've been in since the beginning of October. And we're hoping that as we trend towards the summer, then the numbers will be consistent with what they were over the summer, as we continue to move in that positive direction. So, any questions about where we stand overall right now in terms of the numbers?
Anyone? I just have a quick question about the dashboard itself, Scott. Will that be, well, I know the students aren't going to be in school over the summer break, but for the students that will be attending programs over the summer, will that be updated?
I haven't made a decision on that yet.
I'm just curious.
Maintain the dashboard for the summer program, which we certainly could. There's no reason why we couldn't. And eventually, I do think that we're going to have that discussion of how long we want to continue tracking the data at our meetings. But I really think that my recommendation would be we would do that for the rest of our meetings this year, that we maintain the dashboard through the rest of this year, and then we see where we are as we move into the summer and see what some of the guidance is, see what the recommendations are for next year, see what changes are going to be in place. Obviously people are going to have a lot of choices to make over the next couple months. So news, I'm hearing that the Pfizer vaccine is going to be approved for kids who are 12 and older. As I said in our last meeting, we haven't tracked real numbers yet. I haven't put a survey out to find out how many 16 and older have gotten the vaccination. But anecdotally, from our nurses and through discussions from high school, a lot of students have volunteers that they have been vaccinated who are old enough to, or 16 and older. Most of our students after middle high school are 12 and older. So students and families are going to have that opportunity and that choice to whether or not they get vaccinated over the summer. Because I do think that's coming. And I know I saw some conversations about eventually moving that down from 9 to 12, and then 5 to 9, and then 2 and up, with Dr. Fauci making a statement over the weekend about the goal of all children being able to be vaccinated by the beginning of next year, by January 1st of 2022. Now, I know that's a very hot topic conversation. I'm not making a recommendation. I'm just giving information that people are going to have those options and those choices. As of right now, really, that's the only, my understanding from the state with Convocation is that's going to be a choice for people. We haven't heard anything different than that. I know there's concerns out there about what are the requirements going to be around vaccination. Right now, I'm just being out as an informational piece. But things that may help us as we move to the fall in terms of, is going to support and play a role in some of the guidance that is going to be out as we go towards the fall. I will say, since I started talking about the fall, a couple of people asked me about the fall. Right now, there is no guidance out for what the fall is going to look like. Obviously, I believe 100% that the Department of Education, unless there was a drastic turn, is looking for a full in-person model when we return to school next year, maintaining what we're doing now, and there's a lot of evidence that what we're doing now is working. So I do think there'll be, so like last summer, there'll be a lot of information that comes out over the summer that we're going to have to process and make available to the community as we get closer to the start of school for next year.
Okay, great, thank you.
That was a very long answer to that.
That's okay. It's better to have too much of an answer than not enough. So thank you. Okay, so next we have the curriculum overview for grades 6 through 12, comprehensive skills.
Sorry, post-contact athletic guidance.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yep. That's I'm not having a good reading my screen. I didn't even write that one down.
So in our last meeting, we discussed the post-contact guidance for our spring teams, saying that we're going to review the first couple of weeks of the season and make a determination if we'll be quarantining full teams if a positive person was at practice or at games during the infectious period, or if we would attempt to follow the guidance of 6 feet for outside for a positive person for more than 15 cumulative minutes. Since that discussion, we have implemented pool testing for all spring athletes, and it's really gone well the first 2 weeks. Our participation has been great. Last week at our pool, we tested all of our athletes, and every athlete was negative, so that was a really good sign. We're hoping for the same thing this week. And the recommendations from our nurses and from our athletic staff is with the pool testing, that they feel strongly that we're going to look at it and say, I'll rephrase, with the pool testing, with most of our spring sports being outside sports where people are naturally distanced, like baseball, like softball, even tennis, track and field, personalized events, that with the sports that we're currently running, then maybe it doesn't make sense to quarantine your whole team just because one person was positive at practice or at a game. So we're gonna step that policy back a little bit, and in combination with pool testing, say that, we're looking to diagnose cases early through the pool testing, and then if there is a positive student who is at a practice or a game, we're going to go through the same close contact protocol we used to previously go through in school. We're going to speak to the student, we're going to speak to the coaches, we're going to say who are you within 6 feet of for more than 15 minutes. The nurse is going to take the lead in that, the athletic trainer, and we're not going to just make a blanket determination that an entire team is in close contact because a student was positive at the practice or a student was positive at the game. We're going to go through the protocols and identify the close contacts with the close contact definition of being within 6 feet of the person for more than 15 cumulative minutes during the 48 hours of the infectious period. So since we talked about this at the last meeting, I want to bring it back to the committee and give an update on what we have been doing and what we're going to be doing. Now, since that time, since we've moved in that direction, we haven't had a positive case within our sports teams, which is great. Hopefully it continues that way, and we don't have any more positive cases on our sports teams. We don't have to address it, but we're prepared to do so if we do. So that's our update on close contact and athletic games.
Okay, great.
I don't know if there's any questions or...
Anyone?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so then we'd like to invite Mr. Santos up. I was going to give an overview of curriculum for 6 through 12 comprehensive health. And Santos, I will give you the notification. I will go to the next slide.
All right.
When you're ready.
Wait till you get it up.
Oh, that's good. Let's get started. Let's see if we get feedback. Let's see if we get the switch mics.
Good evening. My name is Mike Santos. I am the Comprehensive Health Department Chair. So I just put together a small presentation for our curriculum that we currently use for 6th grade through 12th grade at the middle high school. So Scott, you go to the next slide. So these are some of the curriculum topics that we talk about in 6th to 8th grade. So you can see some of them here: personal health, decision making, problem solving, getting kids to talk in class, journal writing, talk about kind of how they feel about certain issues that go on in school. We talk now a lot about media literacy, what's out there, social media, how to behave, what to look for. Physical activity and nutrition is a big one that we talk about. Substance abuse, problem solving. So these are just some of the different topics that our health teachers teach. Right now we currently have one middle school teacher who teaches health for 6th and 7th grade, and we have another teacher who teaches 8th grade. So these are some of the topics that they talk about. All the topics that are discussed here are based off of 2 sets of standards. So we use the NHES, which is the National Health Education Standards, and then we also use at the middle school and high school level the MCHCF, which is the Massachusetts Comprehensive Health Curriculum Framework. So we use both standards that we base these curriculum units off of, and that's kind of how we base our teaching. In 9th through 12th grade, you'll notice that some of the curriculum units are the same, but what we do is we extend on what we teach in the middle school, and then we also have some new topics here as well. What we're really looking to do is pushing forward with the pathways. We're kind of restructuring how we're teaching our health now, and which classes are going to go directly towards health, which classes are going to go towards the pathway. In the high school, they are required to graduate with both phys ed and health. And what we're doing next year is we are kind of creating 2 health classes. So one's going to be more based on your social and emotional components that you see here, and then another one will be based on your physical components. At the high school level, a little bit more than middle school, it's health in the classroom. And then you can see with some of these physical components that we talk about, we also take them outside, we take them into the weight room so that they're learning in the classroom, and then they're also kind of getting a hands-on approach outside of just that classroom. So it's kind of a dual process that we use. But you can see a lot of these are the same topics that we talk about: relationship building, communication skills, anger management, depression, and then some of the physical components: drugs and alcohol, nutrition, eating disorders, And then those classes, the weightlifting, the muscle building, the HIIT workouts, the cardiovascular stuff, kind of lends you more to outdoor activities, weight room, kind of stuff like that. Then in comprehensive health, it's not just health, so it's also phys ed that we have under that umbrella. These are some of the main topics that we use in phys ed. So they're kind of broken up into different topics. So you have your typical invasion games, that's your soccer, your basketball, two teams kind of competing against each other. You have net and wall games, so that's your volleyballs, your badmintons, your tennis. We just introduced pickleball into that as well. We have striking and fielding games, so that's your baseballs, your softballs, kickball, cricket, things like that. And then you have your target games, which is bowling, the frisbee golf, the bocce that we do. And then we also have lifetime fitness skills and activities that we use. So we do weightlifting in the weight room, which we are currently trying to redesign. We do yoga, Pilates, cardio. We just bought, I believe, 13 new spin bikes. So we're going to kind of try and make a little bit more of a fitness center. We're trying to move forward and get this up and running so that students after school want a place where they want to come work out. Maybe, have something supervised, where a lot of schools now are doing some strength and conditioning courses after school. We're going to try and lend ourselves to give our students that option. And when we teach phys ed, we use two models specifically, more at the middle school than at the high school level, but it's TGFU, which is your tactical games for understanding, where you put kids in a situation, then you practice the skill based off of that situation, you go back to that situation again, and it's more of a conversation of what did you do here, how did the practice help you, where can you go forward, and then the sport ed model. That gives students a lot more autonomy. That is a student-centered approach, where the TGFU is more of a teacher-centered approach. On the sports ed model, you give students different roles, captains, coaches, fitness instructors, referees, where you're giving them a little bit more, like I said, autonomy, where they can kind of teach and work together within themselves, which lends back to the health section of good communication skills, problem solving, and some of those options. Here we have some new photos and some old photos. These are some of our extracurricular classes that we offer in comprehensive health. So these 4 photos on the left, the personal fitness, this is some new equipment that we just gained for our weight room. So you can see some of the students using it there. And on the right, we have some students in unified physical education. It's just become a class in the last couple years. So these are some older photos, but it's some of our students working with the special ed population, so it brings students with and without intellectual disabilities together in a group, and they work together in a class. And then we also have a sports team based off of that that's been pretty successful. And then, just to end it, look into the future, here's what we're trying to move forward with our health and wellness pathway. On the left are some new courses we're trying to offer, so a health and wellness course, stress and relaxation and nutrition course. And then on the right, where we're hoping our students will go. So what different career options is that going to lend them to? Personal trainers, firefighters, EMS, a couple of different options there, athletic trainers. CPR and first aid, we're hoping to get all of our students who take this pathway or in the health class, CPR and first aid certified. We found that students have really enjoyed that going into the workforce, whether they're in high school or moving on. Whether it's babysitting, whatever it may be, there's a lot of options where students need that certification. We thought that would be a great idea for us to kind of provide that with them. So that's one thing that we're really excited to have. And then this last one, it's an A certification that we're looking more into to try and get our students, once they graduate, they can become personal trainers and kind of have that first step.
Over the last couple months, we've been doing short pathways videos and talking a little about pathways, and I didn't have a pathways update on the agenda this evening, and we'll continue to get pathways updates. But one of the things we're thinking about in terms of approaching the pathways is actually having a curriculum presentation for each of our departments in the middle high school. Now, obviously, that's going to take probably over the next year, to invite each department in and give an overview of what's happening in their department with their curriculum, and then maybe try to make that connection for each department back to the pathways. And as Mike did here this evening, in terms of connecting what's happening, with health and wellness and with physical education, and how that's going to tie in and support the Pathways program. So our goal is kind of to have a presentation each month from different curriculum areas. I don't know if there's any questions for Mike?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is bully prevention and intervention plan.
Bullying prevention and intervention plan. So the goal this evening is just to highlight some of the key components of the district bullying prevention and intervention plan and the steps that students and parents should take to report concerns and allegations of bullying. Will include definition of bullying, process for making a bullying complaint, a little bit about the investigation process and reporting requirements. So the district bullying prevention and intervention plan was developed in 2010. It's been revised twice. It was revised in 2014 and again in 2019. The current plan was developed and revised by a committee that had representation from all sectors of the community, including teachers, school staff, school administration, the Carver Police Department, students, parents, and community representatives. And this all came out of a state law that was passed in 2010 that required all school districts to develop a formalized bullying prevention and intervention plan, and then to update that plan. And the place to start is, I'm actually pulling the definition right from the law of what bullying is. By definition from the state of Massachusetts, bullying is repeated use by one or more students of a written, verbal, or electronic expression, or a physical act or gesture of any combination thereof, directed at another student, a target, causing one or more of the following: physical or emotional harm to the target student or damage to his or her property, place of the targeted student in reasonable fear of harm to him or herself, or of the damage to his or her property, a hostile environment at school for the targeted student, infringement on the rights of the targeted student at school, or material and substantial disruption to the educational process or the orderly operations of the school. Bullying generally involves picking on a student over time. It may include conduct such as hitting and shoving, pressuring a student into taking an action he or she does not wish to take, words that involve threats, teasing, put-downs, or name-calling, threatening looks, gestures, or actions, cruel rumors, false accusations, and social isolation. So that is the definition of bullying through the law, which is also the definition of bullying within our plan. And there's a 4-part checklist in terms of defining bullying. And I do think at times, I think bullying is a word that is used by people often, but often they may not fully understand what the legal definition of bullying is. And we're going to get that sometimes there's conflict between two people, and that conflict is represented as bullying. But it may not meet the technical definition of bullying through our bullying prevention and intervention plan, or through the state's definition of what bullying is. So there's 4 things that have to be in place for it to constitute bullying. It has to be intentional, has to be repetitive, it has to have an impact on the target, and it has to be a power imbalance. In some way, that person has some level of power over the other person. So as we look at incidents, as we look at concerns brought forward by parents, by students, and whether it's actually defined as bullying or not, we have to go look at that definition and then look at that 4-part checklist and you meet those points. And I will say that there are times where the administration may make a determination that it is not bullying. And there have certainly been times where parents have maybe disagreed with that analysis of the situation. And that analysis always goes back to the definition and to those four key points. And so I do feel like sometimes everyone uses bullying, but many people have their own definition of what bullying is. And I'm not saying that to discount concerns that are brought forward. There's certainly been many instances that the administration, the school district has determined is bullying and taken appropriate action based on the student handbook and based on our bullying prevention and intervention plan. But I wanted to make that connection a little bit about in terms of, I think bullying is a very charged word that people use interchangeably sometimes for other things. So the next slide is bullying is different from a conflict or a quarrel. So just because there's a disagreement between two students or a conflict between students, that doesn't automatically mean that it is bullying. In terms of reporting bullying, our position is, if you see something, say something. We want all allegations and incidents of bullying reported. If you're going to report, who can you report to? Now, the first bullet on the slide says the assistant principals at both the middle high school and the elementary school manage and investigate bullying allegations. So we can always say, it's going to go back to the assistant principals because they're the ones who are going to manage the allegation, they're the ones who are going to investigate. But we want you to report to anybody you feel comfortable reporting to. Report to a teacher, report to a counselor, report to an administrator, report to any staff member. Know that when you make that report event, it's going to go back to the assistant principal who's going to lead the investigation and manage that situation. If there is a concern with how the assistant principal manage it or the determination, then you can certainly go to the building principal. If you're concerned with the decision of the building principal and how the building principal is managing it, you can certainly come to myself as the superintendent of schools. If you're concerned with my management of the situation, you can certainly go to members of the school committee. Parents and guardians of the alleged target and alleged aggressor are always made aware of bullying allegations. So that's a key point. If there is a bullying allegation, the law requires and our plan requires that both the alleged target and the alleged aggressor's parents and guardians are contacted, made aware that a bullying allegation has been made, and then takes our next steps. And again, I'm just going to repeat here that we want you to report bullying to whoever you feel comfortable doing it. Okay? So reach out to a member of the staff. As I said, a teacher, a counselor, an administrator, a staff member, reach out to somebody and bring your allegations and concerns forward.
Can I ask a question in regards to this?
We typically don't do that. Is it a question that you want answered now, or just a question that you'd like answered in the future?
It has in regards to this, like the intent, one of the four things, like the intention as part of this.
I'm going to allow it.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Scott?
I don't think we should be stopped to talk about any specific situation.
Yeah.
No, I just, like...
If she just wanted clarification of
I
her
won't
point.
say a specific situation,
Yeah, so
but...
intent would be defined as it meaningfully doesn't. So maybe, I'm not going to try to give an example to try to answer your question.
Okay.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I say something inappropriate to Ron. That wasn't my intention at that moment, right? But Ron's concerned about it. He goes to a teacher. The teacher comes and speaks to me and says, boy, did that happen? It gets investigated and made clear that, yeah, that was, maybe that wasn't your intention, but it had impact. So you have to be very careful and not repeat that and not do that again. Anybody who did that again would clearly, now you're meeting the standard of it's repetitive because you've done it again. And now the intent has to be clear because you've been made aware that that's a concern. So it has to be intentional and repetitive for that behavior to be considered a bullying incident. I don't know if that helped or didn't help.
Yeah, my only thing would be, unless a student openly shows it in class, then the only way that intent would be is that it has to be a second-time offender.
Oh no, I think you have to look at each situation. And so the intention.
I mean, if it's repetitive and someone doesn't openly show.
The administrator has to make some judgment on it.
Right.
So in a very specific, that's why I don't want to get into specifics of situations, but an administrator obviously has to take all the information they have, and they're making some sort of judgment on intention. But ultimately, if you're really talking about, do I know anybody's intent for anything? I have to make a reasonable judgment. So the administrator is always held to the standard of what the reasonable person. So what would the reasonable person looking at this situation determine? And if the reasonable person would look at this situation and say, yeah, that was intentional. Scott went over and pushed Ron on purpose because that was what the reasonable person would say. It wouldn't have to be repetitive to be intentional. Does that make sense? So I gave you an example where it was repetitive to be intentional because it was a comment that maybe you don't know what the intent of that comment was, and it's hard to determine. You know, obviously they're investigating, they're talking to witnesses, they're raising that situation, and the administrator always has to use their best judgment in determining intention.
Thank you.
In terms of investigation, all reports are promptly investigated. A written record is maintained of bullying allegations. The investigation will maintain the confidentiality of witnesses to the best of their ability. Based upon the investigation, the administrator will make a determination if the incident was bullying. So after the investigation is conducted, after everybody who involved the witnesses are interviewed, then the administrator goes back to the bullying definition and goes back to the checklist. Is it intentional? Is it repetitive? Is there a power imbalance? Is it impactful? Some people may ask questions about power imbalance. Power imbalance can be based on position. Power imbalance can be based on physical size. Power imbalance can be based upon, again, this is a judgment. The reality is administrators have to make judgments in these situations. Power imbalance could be that this student is perceived to have many friends, and the other student is perceived to be isolated and have fewer friends. So there's all kinds of things that can reach that standard of what is a power imbalance, and the administrator has to look at the situation in its totality and make their best reasonable judgment. And then impactful really falls on Untitled. But in some ways, you're going to meet that standard, because if someone's come forward with a complaint, that gives you a lot of evidence that it's impactful, because they're coming to you and saying, this, whatever happened, whatever the situation was, whatever's going on, has made me feel uncomfortable, has made me not want to be in school, has made me feel isolated, has made me feel, we can go back to that list of the definition of the things you could possibly feel, and the fact that the person comes forward and says they feel that way, in many ways that meets the standard of impact. Is it impactful? It is, because the person's saying it's impactful. So after the administrator goes through that process, looks at the definition, looks at the entire incident, goes through this concept of is it intentional, repetitive, power balance, impactful, then they make a determination. And I want to point another point of frustration sometimes for parents when we speak to them is student confidentiality laws do not allow the school to report disciplinary actions against other students. So sometimes that is a point of frustration, because parents want to know, well, what happened? So you made a determination that this was bullying. What did you do? What's the consequences to the other student? And ultimately, as we cannot report on your child's consequences, we can report other child's consequences to you. Sometimes you can speak in generalities and say, in general, in these situations, these things can happen. But ultimately, we cannot report out to people what other students' consequences are. And that is a point of frustration for parents. It's a point of frustration with parents that I've had over the years in terms of having that conversation. I think two things happen there. One, there's a little bit of frustration because they want to know what the consequence is. Second, sometimes I do think it underlies a little bit of a sense of, well, you didn't really do anything. There was no action, because I don't know what the action was, then I don't know if an action occurred. Because they are taking, the faith of the statement by the administrator that something has happened, that's occurring. Sometimes I think that's a point of frustration. Parents and guardians of alleged child aggressors are informed of the determination of the case. So you do know if it was determined that this was bullying or was not bullying. So you do get that information. The Carver police are notified if the administration has reasonable cause to believe that criminal charges may be pursued. That's what our policy says. I would actually say that our practice is a little higher standard than the policy. We have a full-time SRO in bullying type of incidents. I'm not saying that every single bullying incident is reported to the SRO, but in many of those situations, the SRO is informed and is aware of bullying allegations that are currently under investigation. It doesn't necessarily, and it's not necessarily because we have reasonable cause to believe criminal charges may be pursued. Certainly that's the standard and that's the law, but it's beyond that in terms of our communication with the SRO. And then we're required to report all incidents determined to be bullying by DESE. So there is a yearly report that goes to the Department of Education based on the number of incidents of bullying that the district has determined has occurred in school. Switching gears a little bit, our goal, one of our goals, the name of the plan is Bullying Prevention and Intervention Plan. We do offer a lot of prevention services. So I just have a list here of some prevention type of services that are in place at each building. I'm not going to read through the entire list, but it obviously includes annual training for staff, PBIS, Second Step. So there are curriculum items. There's educational things that happen in school on a regular basis with the goal of supporting students in not participating in bullying behaviors. So there is a prevention piece of the plan. There's a lot of prevention that happens in both buildings, both at the middle high school and the elementary school, through the work of our counselors, through the work of our teachers, through the work of the administrators. So what's my summary is, please report all concerns to a member of the school staff. Let us know when something is going on. All concerns will be addressed and investigated thoroughly. Parents are notified of the determination of any alleged bullying incident. We have measures put in place to support all students, globally prior to it, as prevention. And then also after the case, if there's a bullying type of incident that involves the students, supports are put in place for students. And ultimately, we're here to support you. That's what we want to do. I've often said, I'm in my 15th year as either the principal or superintendent, principal of Cavalry High School, superintendent of Carver Public Schools. And I often have said to parents over time that 90 to 95% of the incidents that you bring to us, things get better. So there's a key statement there. I just didn't say 100%. Because I can't guarantee that 100% of the incidents that get brought forward to us are going to get better. 90 to 95% of them do. Because parents on both sides are involved. The majority of the parents we work with are reasonable, want to support their students, want the best for their kids, want their kids making good decisions. That if there is an allegation that their students involved in bullying, they're very concerned about that, and they want to make sure that that doesn't continue. If they're concerned that their student is being bullied, they want to work with the school, and they want to make sure that it doesn't continue. So 90% of what comes to us that we're aware of, that's reported to us, the situation improves. There are times where that doesn't happen. There are times where the situation may not improve. And then we'll go to the next steps, which could be increased consequences, could be involving the police, and we will do that, and we want to do that. Right? But my summary, my takeaway statement is we want you to bring your concerns to us. We want to work with all members of the community. We want every single student to feel safe in school. We want to work with every family to make sure that then they feel safe with their students in school and their students feel safe in school.
Great.
With that, I guess I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, Jason?
I don't have questions, but I have several comments, if that's okay. First, to the people who came in today, thank you, because it's not easy. That's not an easy thing, what you did tonight. So, definitely, I can only speak for me, but it gave me a lot more to think about in terms of this whole process. If, let's say you go through the process and it's not bullying, it still doesn't mean the behaviors that are happening are okay. I think that's one thing that gets overlooked as well. So if it's...
And there's consequences
right.
for conflicts as well.
Right. So just I don't want the message to be out there, oh, it's not bullying, it's done, and now it's over. Like, work with, the adjustment counselors, with guidance, with your teachers, with everyone to come up with some sort of plan. And I was trying to think of the term, what Mr. Neef said, which I wrote down as like the chain of appeals, I guess it would be. So let's say the assistant principal comes out with a report, it's something you don't agree with, then you go to the principal, superintendent, come to us. when you're going through that process, what I would highly recommend is make sure you come with whatever, not just, I don't agree with what the assistant principal did, but show us what's already happened, so we can make an informed decision if it gets to our level. So let's say an issue gets to our level, right? We would want to see what happened at the assistant principal level, what happened at the principal level, what happened at the superintendent level. We want to see that whole thing, not just jump straight up, because I think with this conversation starting on social media and everything too, that has kind of built some steam over the last couple weeks. We just want to make sure we respect that process and the way it goes. There's a lot of legal elements that go into this. The last thing I would like to do is I would like to recommend for our next meeting to add an executive session item to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual, ... That's the number one when you look at the reasons for. Because I think there are some specific things that have been brought up today that we won't be able to talk about in public session because of due to the nature of confidentiality and student records and things of that nature, but definitely need to be discussed in our executive session. So that's something I think that we can discuss later, but I want it, it's a necessity at this point.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll say something. Thank you, Scott, for the presentation, and to all of our staff that does try to come up with solutions for these problems. I know it's not easy. I saw these things, and thank you for the parents that came tonight too. I agree with Jason. It was very eye-opening to hear personal accounts. I saw I got tagged in that thread in social media, one of the Carver pages that one of our moms put out there, probably being very frustrated, and which I could understand. And since I was tagged in and I was dragged into it, I do respect the chain of command through, go with the teachers, the guidance counselors, all the way up to Scott and then to us. And I did promote that night in my messages back. But since I was brought into it, I couldn't ignore it, so I brought it to Scott's attention, and I asked the mother to send me an email. And as far as I know, she's working with the administration for this. I haven't had any further update on it. But just for the people out there watching, I know social media is a very convenient thing, but I just want to remind people that social media is, the Carver Facebook pages are not the official avenue to contact the school committee or to file a lodge a complaint, an official complaint. I really would urge you to send us an email or go through the chain of command first, contact Mr. Neef, and we will get back to you. They will get back to you, because we don't want any of these things that we're hearing to be going on in our schools, and I don't think anybody does, obviously, but like some of the parents said here tonight, if we don't know about it, there's no way we can help if we don't know about it, and that starts from the teachers on up. So that was my only comment on that. I just feel bad. Like I saw so many people had complaints on that thread, and you just want to help them all, and it's just history, I guess. But anyway, that's it.
Absolutely, thank you. Colleen.
Hi, I did want to also thank all the parents for coming out and sharing your stories, and I just had some thoughts that potentially we could put towards, prevention tactics in terms of maybe having a guest speaker come in, someone in a point of respect that the children would look up to and could make a meaningful presentation on how we should treat each other, how we should treat ourselves. Or even certain programming that they could watch, maybe they already are in health classes.
So we've had presentations from the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center many times through the school years for staff, for students. We've actually done several community presentations. Elizabeth Englander from Bridgewater State University is actually considered one of the leading experts in the country on bullying prevention and intervention. And she has personally presented to the community of Carver twice in the past 6 years or 7 years. She's presented to our staff twice, and then we've had many presentations from her group for students and for teachers. there's almost a yearly presentation. Now, this year, the COVID year, there was not.
Right.
So this year in COVID, there was not a group, so it didn't happen this year.
Right.
But almost every year, there is some outside presentation made for students, often by the Massachusetts Register, like I said, is considered one of the leaders in the country.
Yeah.
In terms of what intervention. We're just lucky enough to have it at Bridgewater State University right down the street.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I might be dating myself here, but I remember like after-school specials, just certain things they could watch that send a message.
It doesn't mean we won't continue to do those things, and that we can do more.
And then,
It's not actually, I mean, it's been disappointing actually. The two times we had with the speak for parents, we had very small turnouts, very small. So, we could look to try to bring her back again and maybe get a larger turnout. That would be outstanding.
That would be great.
And then, I just can recall when I was an older elementary student, we would visit with the younger, we'd be assigned to a younger student in kindergarten or first grade, just kind of meet with them, and maybe it just would help, self-esteem or someone extra they can talk to, or, I was just thinking outside the box and giving my thoughts.
Great idea.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's someone like from some of the sports teams, like one of the players from the Patriots or the Celtics or the Red Sox, or one of the players that maybe speaks on that. I wonder. I mean,
we've actually had an athletes come and present on the topic.
Oh, they have. Oh.
So, but so we'll make sure we have a student-led bullying presentation next year for all students district-wide. And it's something we're always doing, and we'll do it again.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Done? No? Okay. I also want to say thank you to all of the parents that came tonight and spoke. I know how difficult that is. And we appreciate you coming and advocating on behalf of your students. Please continue to do so. Please, take that next step, bring your concerns to the next level if you're not satisfied with where things stand. One thing I will say is there's, a large majority of people everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to make the situation disappear. So there are resources there, so please just, do reach out and keep reaching out until you're satisfied with the results of that. And I want to say thank you to my committee members for the ideas. I have actually had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Englander present on a number of occasions, and she's, I think she's pretty amazing. So it would be great if we could have her maybe come back, especially where this is, a pretty hot topic out in the community right now. Maybe we would actually have, better attendance.
We'll actually find what happened this year.
Yeah. So for next year. So thank you very much.
All right, moving on to upcoming events. So just so if I give you background on a series of upcoming events, and obviously you'll see MCAS on here a lot. But a couple of things I do want to highlight is, so we are doing a little night of music at the middle high school on Friday the 21st at 5:30. So the drama club is going to be doing sort of like a night on Broadway presentation on the side. And so that whole concept we've talked about a couple times, we are trying to do some more of the activities that are traditionally happening. So we're excited to have a little night of music on the 21st at the high school. And then I also just wanted to point your attention to, we do have Convocation and graduation program. So Convocation is Friday the 4th at 6 o'clock. June 4th, graduation on Sunday the 6th at 10 a.m. Obviously, right now, school families to those events. We'd love to see you attend if you're able to for Convocation and graduation. And then we have, we actually are going to have an annual retirement reception this year. We did not have a retirement reception last year because of COVID protocols. So we are going to try to plan an event. We're just in the beginning stages of that. In total, since last year and this year, we have close to 15 retirees. So we're reaching out to them, inviting them back to see if they'd be interested in participating. And so we're going to kind of have an annual retirement reception and end the year event on June 10th. So we're excited about those things that are coming up. Jason?
Typically, we have our meetings on the second Monday, but the June one's June 7th. Was it supposed to be on the 14th and not the 7th?
No, I think that was just the 2-week, because it was set on the 2-week cycle, I think. That's the date that was set a while ago.
All right, I thought we were always second, and then we did second and fourth.
I think
No, it was every 2 weeks.
I think we were doing it every 2 weeks.
Because we did 3 week in between. That's the only reason I'm saying, because we kept the second Monday when we did it, and then when we added the second one, it was 2
One of
weeks.
the months when that happened. But
Yeah.
when we laid out the calendar, when we went to the 2 weeks, we set those dates.
Okay.
So I don't.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a mistake, because I swear I had.
The last day of school is the 18th for all students. But join the role of the committee, which was a better day for it.
No. It wasn't to change. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. And then, anything else on our list?
Nope, it's exciting to have events to look forward to.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Hey, school choice. So last year, the committee voted to approve school choice in kindergarten and grades 9 through 12, with a total of 5 slots each grade level. In general, the district receives $5,000 per student whose school choice in, and lose approximately $5,000 for each student in Carver whose choice is out. For some special education students, we receive additional monies to support their needs. At this time, we currently have 64 students who choice into the district and 11 students who choice out. So we're plus 53 students overall in terms of school choice. And in your background, we've given you a list of by grade of the students who participate in school choice, so what grade they're in, and there's also a list of what districts those students are choicing in from. This current year, we had a small enrollment in kindergarten. Our kindergarten class currently only has about 100 students. So that's a small class going through the system. So based on that, this year I'm making a change in our proposal. So because we've been kindergarten for many years, we've done variations of 9 through 12 or 6 through 12. Last year we pared back 9 through 12. But based on only having a class of 100 students, I'm making a recommendation that we open up 5 school choice slots for first grade this year as well. And then otherwise continue offering the slots that we currently historically have, which is in kindergarten and grades 9 through 12. So the recommendation would be that the school committee approve 5 school choice slots be available in kindergarten and grades 1, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We have to remember overall school choice has had a really positive impact on our budget that has allowed us some district flexibility. This year we're using $400,000 in school choice monies to offset our budget. So it is a revenue stream for the district, and one, as I said, is a positive one for us. Because obviously that's been a pretty consistent number that we always have a lot more students choicing into the district and then choicing out. And as I said, this year we are plus 53 students choicing in versus choicing out of the district. So that would be my recommendation for school choice. The school committee does need to vote a recommendation by June 1st because we have to report to the state. Then once the school committee votes that, we'll make our report to the state of what grade levels will have school choice available in, and then we will put out the application for people to apply. The application process is a lottery system, so we have 5 slots in each grade level. As long as you apply by the deadline, whatever the number is, then it's random selection of who gets the 5 slots. In many years, we've been right at the 5. There have been other years, a couple of years ago for kindergarten, I think we had 13 or 14 applicants, somewhere in that ballpark. I remember some people actually came forward with concern about that, because we did the line process and had to select 5 of the 13 or 14. So that certainly could happen again this year, but that's my recommendation on school choice.
I'll make a motion that we approve 5 school choice slots to be available for students in kindergarten grades 1, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the 2021-22 school year.
I'll second.
Anyone have any questions or further discussion?
So for this first grade one, say there were 7 kindergartens last year, do those other 2, it's a fresh new lottery, right? It's not like,
Yeah, it's a fresh,
Okay.
we have to reapply.
got it.
So we actually did have, looking at Gina, maybe 8 students applying for the gown this year. So I think our number was 8, so we did have to select 5.
Okay.
So there were 3 people who didn't get that school choice slot.
Right.
But those people would certainly be eligible to reapply this year and go back into the lottery.
Yeah.
If we have more than 5 applicants.
I just wanted to make it clear that it wasn't like
Yeah, it doesn't-
automatic, like they get 3 of the first 5. It goes back to square one, that's all.
Right.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
School committee calendar. So, this is the proposed meeting schedule for next year for 21-22. At this time, I'm proposing that after June, we return to our usual schedule of meeting once a month with no meeting in July. So obviously since, I forget now, August? Since August, we've been meeting twice a month.
Since July.
Since July, we've been meeting twice a month. Obviously, there was a lot of decisions that we made and a lot of things we have to track and follow. I think going into the summer, certainly we could call additional meetings if we wanted to, but I would make the recommendation that we we'll have the second meeting in May, have the meeting on June 7th, and then start our usual cycle in August of 1 meeting a month on the second Monday. But that's the recommendation, but we'll see what we could.
Jen?
Do we have discussion, or do we have to
Make a
make a
motion.
Motion first.
Someone should make a motion to
Okay.
move it or not.
I move to approve the school committee calendar for school year 22.
Okay. Second? Anyone?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Jen?
I personally am not comfortable going from June 7th to August 16th without a meeting. We have no idea what guidance DESE is going to issue for the fall, and I just think that I personally think that we should still meet in July, so that we can review early guidance. With our full reopening right now, we had to make some decisions, especially at the middle high school level, that were not ideal. And if guidance isn't changed for the fall, I think that we need to have serious conversations about how the fall looks at the middle high school. So I'm going to throw it out there that I think that we should meet in July and potentially even schedule 2 August meetings as we plan for fall.
Okay. Anyone else?
I mean, I think that most of the decisions that are going to be made are going to be below us. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to get to that. Do we have, because the decisions we made for reopening was, do we open in person? Do we do hybrid? Do we do all this? I mean, we've called special meetings, right, in the past, as long as we give them enough time. So it's just, I would hate to schedule all these new all the new meetings just to be like, nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know.
I wouldn't be opposed to a July meeting. I mean, I don't know if we need 2 meetings in August, but I understand your point for July. But if
Maybe consider July meeting and certainly make a decision if you want to have some meetings in August. But obviously, you can meet every week if you want.
I'll concede to at least a July meeting. I just think June 7th to August 16th is a really long time for us to not meet, just within the current environment. I know historically there was never a July meeting, but I just think everything's still kind of.
So do you want to make an amendment?
I would like to make an amendment
Sorry, Stephanie.
to the motion to add a meeting in July. And are we going with the second Monday, so it'd be Monday, July 12th? Or if that's too close to the holiday, potentially Monday, July 19th, if the committee has any specific preferences.
Anyone?
So do you want-
12th or the 19th?
Either one is fine with me.
This is a motion, right? So that's why I'm not saying anything
If
yet.
you have a
Okay.
second on the
Well, I'm asking people's opinion if they have a preference on the date.
Oh.
Motion, Jason.
We have another second on the motion to have a meeting. in July.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a second. Any discussion? other than setting a date?
No.
July 12th works.
Either one works for me.
Okay. I'll only be available on Zoom July 12th, but that's,
Same.
that's,
Or do you want to do the 19th then?
Does the building have air conditioning?
I mean, I can certainly do Zoom, or unless you want to just change to the 19th. What does everyone
The
think?
19th work for everybody?
So I'll add to my amendment for the meeting to be July 19th.
Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second. Any further discussion? Jason, you look like you're thinking.
Well, it's just, this is all arbitrary at this point. We're guessing when we might get guidance and when we might hear from.
I think we should meet whether there's guidance or not.
Okay, but had the floor.
But-
It's okay, you take it.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, and maybe it's a lighter agenda.
Hopefully it will be a lighter agenda than
Yeah, in
last
terms of,
July.
I mean, in terms of school staff and personnel, we'll be calling people in to make presentations.
Right.
My mind would be the committee and myself, maybe Ron, that would be my recommendation. Unless obviously some like real clear cut guidance comes up, you have to really dive into.
I think she just wants to get it on the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any more discussion?
Works for me.
Nope. That works for you, Scott? Gina, does that work for you?
I could always be on the hook for minutes.
Or you? I don't have any secretary, Okay, so there you go.
I think my kids are going away, but I will be here, I'll figure it out.
You're the best.
So I'm like, I don't have my calendar, I can't actually say.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, so passes 4-1.
So that's the amendment.
The amendment, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm losing connection here. Something's.
And then budget transfers?
Well, no, we
No.
still have to vote on the rest of the calendar approval.
Okay, this is frozen.
So that was just the amendment.
Okay. So, somebody should make a motion?
It's already
Jason
been
made
made.
motions, now we just have to vote it. My
Okay,
amendment
we
was
had a
approved.
second? Okay, so we're all set. Okay, so we need a vote on the calendar as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
Okay, 4-1. It passes. Okay, so now budget transfers. Ron, please.
Hi, everyone. I'll be brief. I'm muted. There we go. There we go. We'll be brief. You've got in front of you your warrant signatures for April payroll as well as April expenses and initial expenses for May. I'd ask that before we leave tonight, they're here. Please be sure to sign. You also have a full copy of FY21 budget as well as recommended transfers. I'll share with you just a few highlights. First, update on all.
If you want to hold on for 1 second.
Sure.
The transfers are not in the agenda.
Kicked off.
The Excel spreadsheet is not the agenda.
He's not, he isn't bringing it up.
So if you give me a
Try
second,
mine.
I will do that.
Okay.
They're in the background agenda for the school committee, they're not in
The regular.
the, right.
Sure.
So give me 1 second, I will put that file over there.
I can open it on my phone.
Yeah, it's just technology.
All right, we should be all set now. Hold on 1 second. Share screen.
There we go. So you've got the full budget for 21 along with the recommended transfers. I'll give you a few highlights. We're still waiting on the CARES reimbursement from Plymouth County. echo of me. A few other highlights, the middle school, high school natural gas, you see a transfer there. As I said at our last meeting over the winter.
I think you have to mute your,
Yeah, you can mute yourself.
I just muted him.
Your microphone's picking you up.
Thank you. Is that better? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Area 58 tech experts. As I said over last meeting, over the winter, we had the HVAC systems over at the middle high school need to be open to full to maximize air circulation. Simultaneously open them to full also means you vent out a lot of your heat. So you'll probably see in your next meeting as well one more transfer to cover overages on natural gas for the middle high school. You see advisor stipends. We ended up running more clubs this year than anticipated, which is great despite COVID, so we have coverage there. And then just elementary school maintenance. We had a heating condenser that was unanticipated that needed to be replaced. Any questions on 21 budget?
Anyone have any questions? No.
no.
I think we just need a vote to...
I'll move to approve the budget transfers.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Nope. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
One last item for you, just on your last page there. Just some updates on state and federal finance. I'm sort of a geek for this sort of thing. If you're interested, Massachusetts right now has got its FY22 going through Beacon Hill. Last week it went to Senate Ways and Means, and I put a budget tracker in the background if you want to take a look at that and follow all things Massachusetts budget development. And then the federal level, U.S. Department of Education just released materials for the states to finish their applications for their ESSER 3 funds. Here at the state level, we expect to get the RFP for ESSER 3 this month. I'll keep the committee posted as that comes through. And I've included a summary from the department, the Federal Department of Ed, that gives you an update on where ESSER 3 is at the federal level.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Anyone have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to reports from the school committee. Does anyone have anything they want to say? Jason?
Yeah. First, I know it was mentioned at the top, but it was Teacher Appreciation Week last week. So thank you to everyone. It's, as it was said at the top, nothing has been easy about this year for anybody. So it is appreciated, not just the teachers, but the staff, everyone, top to bottom, what they do. So thank you. The other thing I'd like to say is I'd like to recommend for the future meeting, I'd like to see what the DESE and MIA guidelines are and mandates are for masks. I want to see the difference between the guidance and the mandates, just to get more perspective, because again, we had a lot to think about tonight when it comes, we had the bullying presentation, but the mask piece from the beginning too, I've been thinking a lot about too. I'd like to see just for us to know, for the community to know what it looks like at the state level, through DESE, through MIAA, just so we're all on the same page and we can all make the informed decision based on
I
what.
can answer that question. I was smart to have it as a deadline for the next meeting.
Do you want to answer?
Unless you want to see it.
I'd rather wait for the agenda item, and things might change in the next 2 weeks as well. I think if
That's true, the way the guidance changes.
Right.
The guidance can be different 2 weeks now.
So I just want to put it out there. I think it is an important topic and I just want everyone to have the same information. You know what I mean? Just so we can all make the correct decision based on what's currently out there through DESE, through the MIAA, and all that, and the CDC, everyone, all the people who make all the decisions. So, other than that, see you in June. Oh no, see you in a couple weeks. Sorry, it's only May 10th, not May 24th. Jeez. Good grief.
I'm sorry, Jim, can I just ask a clarifying question so that I bring the right information?
Yeah.
You guys said everyone who's out there, there's a lot of...
Oh, so all right.
CDC...
I'm looking, MIA and DESE would be the two big ones.
MIA and DESE.
Because DESE and MIA are making their determinations and stuff through CDC. So I think what is the MIAA and DESE saying? I think those are the two big ones, so we can make really an informed decision.
Okay, thank you.
Going forward. Anyone else? Jenny?
Thank you. I actually echo everything that Jason said. I want to thank everyone who took the time to speak during our public comments. for everyone who spoke on the bullying. I didn't make a comment earlier because I was still just digesting everything. But it's as a mom, it hurts my heart to hear the stories. Several of my nieces had issues in the Carver schools as well. And I don't want to turn this into a thing because I have several nieces who had amazing experiences in the Carver schools, and my kids so far have had amazing experiences in the Carver schools. I think that we have an excellent school system. I think our administration and staff are outstanding. I think our teachers are amazing. Thank you, teachers, and thank you, staff and community, for the great week last week in celebrating our teachers. But our town is not without issues, and our children are not without issues, and sometimes kids present those issues in very non-positive ways. So I just thank everyone for sharing, and I hope that we as a community can continue to talk about it, because awareness is the first step to improvement. And I'm glad Jason requested that agenda item for the masks. I think that it will be really informative to know what we are required versus what is a decision we're making at the Carver level, because that'll be good for everyone to be on the same page. So thank you, Jason. The other thing I just wanted to mention or just say is that you know, coming out of Teacher Appreciation Week, you know, and I also made sure to include all ESPs, you know, I think administration and other district-wide staff tend to get overlooked, so I just want to throw out a shout out again. You know, this has been a really long year. We're in the home stretch. We have a little over a month left of school, and so just everyone just be kind, you know, students, staff, community, parents, like let's just promote what we want to see, and let's be kind, let's show appreciation, you know, say thank you to people for the things that they're doing. A little kindness goes a long way, and it can be contagious, and maybe people can't see our smiles because we're behind these masks, but so, you know, use your words and you know, help cheer up somebody's day, because it really is contagious. So I'm going to end with that.
Nice. Colleen?
You know, I'm really excited or enthused by the community members coming out and speaking on issues that are of concern to them and bringing it to everybody's attention so that we can address concerns. You know, I am interested on, you know, what we can do going forward in terms of certainly masks, and I'm encouraged about informing everyone on moving forward with, you know, the appropriate way to report the bullying and how it, you know, it is in fact being addressed, and I'm hopeful that we can keep making more progress on that front. You know, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do the work. Also, Bus Drivers Appreciation Day is Friday, so they have their hands full too. So if we can remember to make little cards for them and whatnot, I'm sure it goes a long way. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I certainly echo everyone's sentiments in saying thank you to everyone that reached out to us tonight. Thank you to you know, everyone that's an employee of the Carver Public School District for trying to get through this year in the best way possible. And I am too glad that you mentioned the masks. I know that things are constantly changing and constantly shifting, so it's important for us and for the community to stay up to date. I would assume as the fall gets closer that we'll probably have some type of a presentation at that point too, based on wherever that guidance is before the fall season would start for athletics. Potentially. I mean, so many things are potential. But
I can't comment on what I mean.
right, yeah. So, but I'm sure we'll
guidance on prior to the side of the schooling on all those things.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone will be kept abreast of where things stand. So, thank you very much. And with that, I would entertain a motion. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something, Andy?
No.
Oh.
But thank you.
I want to be sure.
Thank you. No, it's okay. So, yeah, I usually.
We're used to Andy going last.
Yeah, that's all right.
It used to be going last, exactly. No. I actually don't have anything. I've said everything I had to say about the serious topics tonight. And I will say that I appreciate the community reaching out to us, and we feel for you, definitely, on the bullying aspect. And I'm not going to repeat everything I said before, but we are here to help, as the whole administration is, and all of our staff. So please trust in them and tell them if you're having, or your child's having an issue. Thank you.
My apologies.
No, it's all right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for that. Okay, so with that, would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining for union, non-union personnel, and not return to open session.
Second.
Excellent motion and second. This is a roll call vote. So Jen?
Jennifer Pratt, aye?
Andy?
Andy Cotterelli, aye?
Jason?
Jason Greenwood, aye.
Colleen?
Colleen Zanuski, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye. So our meeting is adjourned at 9:05 PM.